Bigger people. What's something non-big people just won't understand? Story 1. How it feels when the We Fit lady says, "That's obese," in her cheery-ass voice. Back in college, we had a We in our dorm, and it was quite popular. I remember I got the We Fit for Christmas and brought it with me after the break. Everyone got excited to set up their profiles. My friend stood up to get her profile set up with all of us there. The BMI calculator does its animation. That's obese. It was a die inside kind of moment. Nobody knew what to say. I felt so bad for her. God damn it, Japan, you are harsh. I am overweight, but not obese, like a proportional curvy hourglass shape. And when I went to Japan, I was mortified. I couldn't ride on the rides at Universal Studios. I couldn't even wear an XL in the robes they give you at the Ryokan. No one there was rude about it at all, but it is not a country meant for anyone carrying extra weight. I did enjoy my trip overall, but it made me too embarrassed to do a lot of the things I like to do on vacation, like get a massage, shopping, etc. I was thrilled we had a private onsen, hot springs bath, in our Ryokan, because they are mandatory nudity, and there's no way I would have had the nerve to do a public one. Story 2. How much you dread people taking photos of you because it always ruins your day to see yourself in a photo. This times a million. I recently gave some training at a work thing and they took so many photos. I really enjoy training and feel confident in my knowledge, but not in myself. It's weird to want to do something and enjoy it, but also really dread it at the same time. I don't want to be observed, just heard, I guess. Yes, it just makes me want to fall apart when I see a picture of myself. I know who I am in my head, but when I see what everyone else sees, it's just this ugly fat guy with thinning hair. I know this might not make you feel any better, but I'm a guy in his mid-40s, tall and very fit and strong at my age, with good hair and teeth, and generally, I seem to be considered a reasonably good-looking guy by the way friends will talk me up. However, I still manage to have pretty crappy self-esteem, and I hate the way I look in basically much every picture. I just don't consider myself to be photogenic. I always look weird to myself. My point is, I'm very aware that I have some body dysmorphia issues, and my confidence with women is not great at all. I tend to be shy. So, I can actually relate to your statement about knowing who you are in your own head, but feeling paranoid that people don't see a good-looking guy. There are plenty of people out there who you'd never suspect feel the same about themselves because you might see a good-looking, confident person, but inside they don't think that way either. Our brain's self-perception can be our own worst enemy. This is very true. I'm this dark, fat woman who gave twins 12 years ago, and still have these ugly traces of being a mom. I can't even buy a mirror, so I could just pretend that I'm still the same young, physically fit woman. I feel so sorry for myself, but seeing how my twins become good-looking, healthy, and smart, all these feelings fade away. I'm just accepting that this is me now. Understanding yourself makes others understand what you have been through. My man is medically obese and his hair is thinning and going gray, but he's still super hot. In my not-so-humble opinion. I'd be willing to bet my month's wages that you're seeing yourself a lot worse than others see you. Don't be so hard on yourself. Of course, you want to be healthy and live a long life, but I don't think the aesthetic issue is really as bad as you've worked it up for yourself. I'm sure you're quite handsome, even if you don't see it in yourself. Story 3. As a former obese person having to pull down your t-shirt or shirt to prevent it from lifting up. My non-obese self has well-fitting clothes, and I still subconsciously pull my shirt down. That and the glaring looks that you get when you stand in food lines at buffets or at airports. In a similar vein, the shorts walk. Chub rub makes my shorts right up in the middle, which requires me to either shimmy every few paces or fully just yank the short legs back into place. But it's so much hotter being fat that the idea of wearing pants in the summer is an instant no for me. This 100%. I have lost over 12 stone now and I still pull my shirt down all the time. To the point a friend of mine at work who also used to be big told me to stop, that I looked good, and that he understood why I was doing it. The glaring in food lines and such, I'm not sure if it was my unconsciousness that made me think people were looking, but I always had that feeling. I still do. It's hard getting your head away from what you used to look like. I was large for my entire life, from birth until last year. As such, it's hard getting away from still thinking like I used to about such things. It's so difficult to adjust your mental image of yourself. A year ago, I was 26 stone. I'm now 15 stone and have a stone and a bit to go to get to my goal weight. People tell me I look vastly different, but feeling it is really difficult. I still catch myself in mirrors sometimes and I'm like, what the hell? I've also now got clothes that fit, although the 36-inch jeans I bought a month ago are now too large. Losing weight is expensive, and I'm self-conscious if a t-shirt is touching my skin, which the fit on t-shirts not for enormous people seems to encourage. I have to check myself in the mirror to see if I don't look like the whale bursting out of his t-shirt I feel like in my head. I was big from childhood, so I literally have no knowledge of what it's like to be a normal weight. I'm in my 40s. That's a lot of mental adjustment needed. I have kept a pair of 52-inch jeans I bought just before the weight loss, which fit well at the time. They are funny to put on and hold out in front of me like giant clown pants. As a formerly jacked person gradually losing the fight, I'm 280 pounds, a few months shy of 50, but still have enough muscle mass that my gut is an addendum, rather than the dominant element to my shape. This one was irrationally the most compelling. You need to fix this before you end up there, I've read. Not the heart health or life expectancy concerns. Not the fact that I can feel my endurance and raw energy levels degrading, but the thought of my shirt riding up, that's terrifying. Now I need to figure out how to fix this. I was a pudgy teen. Building up muscle was how I fixed that going into adulthood. Not a bodybuilder or weightlifter type, I did endurance and raw power activities. Most significantly Polynesian outrigger canoe paddling, for 20 years, until I finally damaged my shoulder too much to continue. Lots of ditch digging and rock slinging. Weightlifting is just a maintenance thing, but my shoulders and knees are a lingering problem and I've had all the surgery and OT I can handle. And when the pandemic hit, I stopped doing anything that I couldn't do at home for exercise. So basically kettlebells and dumbbells on a bench. Crunches, planks, Roman chairlifts. It keeps me from turning into a blob, but it's no longer keeping the fat off. Story 4. When you're fat but people like you, they will divorce your fatness from your character, but they'll still talk negatively about fat people in front of you, simply because of their fatness. And you just sort of sit there like, oh man, I had this so bad when I was younger. They'd point out big guys and make snide comments. I'd say, he's no bigger than me, isn't he? So I sort of got divorced from how big I was getting. It wasn't until I saw a pic of myself with that chunky bloke and realized I was fatter than he was. Yeah, so much you're not that overweight and you wear it well, that by the time people were concerned about the weight gain, I'd fallen so far down it was really difficult to pull myself back up. What I'm gathering here is it's healthier to hear, hey buddy, you're getting a little out of shape there, versus, hey, look at that fat guy. Got it. Honesty is best. Honestly, it really depends on person to person and the relationship you have with them. I've had friends who I could see were struggling with food. Some I could say, hey, I've noticed you've slipped back into some bad habits, and they'd want to talk about it. Others would be absolutely devastated if you mentioned it at all. I used to get, you carry it well, all the bloody time. It wasn't until I saw a pic of myself sitting down that I realized, freaking hell, I'm not carrying it well at all, because you know, everything squishes when you sit. Racist people do this too. I went to a bar once with a good friend of mine who is of a certain ethnicity, say quadruple X, and a friend of hers. When we walked in, the friend said, oh great, it's full of quadruple X in here, rolling her eyes. I was completely shocked and looked at my friend who was obviously also shocked. Both of us had kind of gasped when she said it, and when she realized what she said, she clarified, oh, I didn't mean you. I don't even think of you as quadruple X, as if that made it any better. Unbelievable. Story 5. Finding clothes that fit. Worrying if furniture would support you. Oh lord, the furniture. I'm not obese, but definitely not small. I sat down on a chair and it broke years ago. That chair was being held together by hope and prayer and would have probably broken if the wind blew it too hard. But I was the one that broke it, so I got pointed and laughed at. Anyway, I checked the chairs before sitting down now. This happened to a buddy of mine. He weighed a little bit less than me, but was a couple of inches taller. He sits in the open chair. I'm in the exact same chair, and it explodes into a million pieces. He just sat there for a second and went, well, that hurt my pride. Broke my friend's plastic chair at a cookout to celebrate his birthday. Everyone was just talking and having fun, and I shifted slightly in my seat, and a leg broke. Was on my back on the ground. It didn't help that it was raining, so I'm just laying there defeated as I hear everyone laughing their ass off. His parents felt bad for me and gave me several plates to take home, and I promised to pay them for the damages. It was the motivation I needed to start losing weight. Also, screw plastic chairs. Story 6. As someone who was once obese and is now just a bit overweight, holy crap is it hard to keep off. I still want to eat like I did when I was heavier. This is where I'm struggling. Losing weight? I can do that. Am doing that. Have just about done that. It sucks, but it's not complicated. Do the exercise every single day. Do a healthy, low-calorie diet every single day. Be hungry every single day. And have sore legs every morning. Not fun, but it's not hard to figure out. I just have to wake up every day and say, no, I'm not a brat. This isn't the day I give up. But that's not a long-term lifestyle. I just decided to lose the pounds, and until I did that, healthy food prep and exercise was going to be my hobby. The thing I prioritize when not working. But now that I'm here and more or less at a healthy weight, I don't know how to spin the plates to maintain this normal. I have 30 years of prior life experience that I need to ignore. Because if I'm like, I made it, now back to how things were, I'll just lose all this progress and have to do another 6+ months of hell. I'm considering getting into weightlifting just so that I can have a replacement hobby that won't contribute to everything falling apart. I can't recommend getting into weightlifting enough. When I lost weight, 45 kilograms, I did it without any exercise. I focused purely on diet and walking. I found that the more weight that I lost, the harder it was for me to eat at maintenance, as I kept having to decrease my calories. I ended up maintaining my weight at 1,500 calories, and I thought, I can't live like this. Since I started weightlifting and gaining muscle, I've managed to raise my maintenance calories, and it has been so much easier to navigate the hunger. Plus, weightlifting has genuinely been enjoyable and rewarding. Seconding this, it really helps the scales in your favor in a number of ways. Some more subtle, but they add up. As you already said, but in other words, muscles use more energy at rest, and increasing protein intake to fuel growth helps with satiety. Plus, protein has a high thermogenic effect, meaning it takes your body more energy to use it than other macronutrients. Then there are the aesthetic improvements, of course, and the progression that is easier to measure than with many other forms of exercise, perhaps helping to replace that loss of sense of achievement that one experiences going from a weight loss period to a steady maintenance state. And finally, any fat you might gain will be less noticeable or comparably look better the more lean mass you have. And of course, it's great for health and functionality in a way that can't be substituted by cardio, especially the older you get. Personally, I've been able to keep the weight off because I viewed the weight loss period as changing my relationship with food rather than going on a diet. It meant progress was slower, but I only ever picked things that I could see myself doing in 20 years, like making sure every meal had enough fiber, fat, and protein to sate me, swapping out all processed snacks and juices for nuts and fruits when I was hungry between meals, and thinking about how I was going to feel later after eating something. I found that I started preferring these things anyway. No protein powders or endless chicken breasts to meet protein goals, no artificial sweeteners and low-fat substitutes to lower calorie counts, and no overly restrictive habits like avoiding all carbs or not enjoying regional cuisines to their fullest when traveling. The fear that the weight will come back never really goes away, but it just becomes quieter and quieter until it seems like a silly momentary thought every time it happens. 2 years back, I finally gave up the calorie counter, but my weight has largely remained the same, and I'm so much less self-deprecating about having an indulgent meal, or treat now, than when I was overweight, and supposedly not caring about my body. The inertia of my habits is behind me, and I feel free. Have a read into the gut microbiome. There's also this new documentary on it that came out on Netflix that explains it really simply. Hack Your Health: The Secrets of Your Gut. It's something that takes time, but essentially you have to repopulate and reset your gut bacteria to crave healthier foods through the slow introduction. In another sense, eating a diverse range of unprocessed foods. The reason I emphasize slowly is because your body is always in protective mode to new foreign things. So instead of sending an army, start by sending a few scouts, so your body knows they're friendly. then go from there. Sometimes just being in a calorie deficit will get you back to eating like crap because you haven't actually repopulated your gut with different bacteria. Story 7. How people treat you. With active disdain. People glare at you. They scoff at you. They make faces of disgust when seeing you. Random ass people feel free to honk at you and yell stuff from their car when you walk alongside the road. The hatred is honestly intense. There was a post yesterday on another sub about a woman with her cat. The woman admittedly was really big, but there were so many people that felt the need to comment on it out of nowhere, and it was just like, why? You know it doesn't help, and you know she's aware of it. It's solely intended to be cruel, to make themselves feel better comparatively, or both. No other reason. I don't know, it was just kind of sick. Was fat all my life until I lost 80 pounds from my junior to senior year of high school, 210 to 130. I was stared at, laughed at, and made fun of. The second I lost all the weight, people wanted to be my friend, and all of the negatives went away. Everything you said is true. The mental damage sticks. I've been in shape at 5'11", 155 pounds with muscle for a while now, but I still catch myself doing the shirt tug and pillow over the gut as protection. This was my experience too. I'm 5'9". At my biggest, I was morbidly obese at 291 pounds. I am now 198 pounds, so still overweight, but in a way that clearly most people find acceptable for a woman in her 40s. As people treat me differently. People who would avoid speaking to me are now initiating conversations. People who were outright contemptuous and unkind to me are now quite friendly. At work, I get comments about how great I'm doing and how confident I am these days. I've literally changed nothing but my weight. I was always good at my job and knew it, but apparently it's not possible for a fatty to not be lazy and stupid, so they're only noticing what I do now. It's kind of heartbreaking that people are so discriminatory. Honestly, people don't even realize that they're doing it. I've even had really close friends who've known me for years don't believe me that I used to be morbidly obese. Then I show them a picture of us together from the time and they look bewildered and say, "I just don't remember you like that." Which is equal parts sweet and upsetting. Do you just love me no matter what I look like, or are you struggling to imagine yourself being friends with a fat person? I try not to think about it too much except when checking myself before making judgments about people based on how they look. Some of my best friends are skinny after all. Story 8. Unless you're a medical professional who specializes in weight loss, there's probably nothing you can say to them about their weight that they haven't already heard or are not already well aware of. Not only that, but even weight loss doctors also haven't told me anything I haven't heard before. I'm very close with my sister-in-law, and I can't believe some of the mean things doctors have said to her about her weight. She's always been heavy, but when my wife died, her sister and best friend, her coping mechanism was food, and she gained quite a bit more. She honestly tries to help herself, but it's a struggle. So I can't believe how rude some so-called medical professionals have been to her. My old doctor told me my abdominal pain was because I was fat and ate too much bread. I kept cutting carbs until I was consuming only meat, eggs, and water, but the pain got worse. Finally, I went to a gynecologist's emergent care center and found out I had a severely advanced case of adenomyosis. My uterus was turning itself inside out while the flesh calcified. I ate a sandwich when I was recovering overnight in the surgical center. The first bread I've had in over a year. I also got a new doctor who actually listens to me, and I went from a size 22 to a size 16 under her care. Oh man, the brain-dead people in that realm. I've met with 4 dietitians now. I just wanted someone to sit down with me and make a mock-up meal plan that fits my needs around the dietary restrictions and allergies of my partner. I've been referred to so many freaking books, websites, and just Google X or Y diet. The latest dietitian and weight loss doctor won't talk to me until I've read 4 books from Amazon, which also means they won't proceed with getting me set up for any sort of gastric surgery. Really contemplating going on my own to a Mexican doctor my friend used for his surgery and footing the $8K bill. Story 9. I have been heavy and light and back again. Several times, which takes a massive toll on the body on its own, but there you go. I have always mentally been obese, in terms of the space I think I take up in the world. Even at my lightest, which was about 10 pounds north of my ideal weight. I would still check every chair to make sure it was not rickety. Still turn sideways to get between things when I didn't need to. Still eyeball things like amusement park rides and theater seats because I thought I wouldn't fit comfortably. Obesity has a huge impact on the body, but also on the mind. It's why they say things to men like, find a fat girl to have sex with, she'll be grateful. It's also a little bit of armor though. If anyone is going to make fun of me, it's going to be for one thing, being fat. No other insecurities ever get picked on. I'm seen as only being one thing, so I've gotten pretty okay with people pointing it out. Huh. Okay, as a fat woman, trust, sex is easy to find. Plenty of guys, fit hot guys too, are more than happy to have sex with a fat girl. And not with eyes closed or looking away. They very obviously enjoy the sex and the body they're having sex with. They just don't want to ever be seen in public with you. They don't want anyone else to know because then they'll get made fun of. They'll screw you, they just won't date you. My most recent ex loves amusement parks and was planning a trip to one. He didn't believe me when I told him that it was very likely that I wouldn't fit on most of the rides. I even looked up the park online and confirmed that there were limited rides available for plus-sized riders. I tell him that I love roller coasters, but I've had a very bad experience being kicked off of a coaster for being too fat in college, and I'm the same size now, US 18, and this park is owned by the same company. He spent several $100s on easy passes and unlimited food/drink packages anyway. On the drive to the park, I wasn't particularly excited about getting there, and he picked a fight with me about being ungrateful. We got to the park, got our wristbands, and picked another fight because I wasn't acting happy. We finally get to a ride line, and I don't fit in the trial seat, so he goes alone and I wait for him. He seems calmer afterward, but it's short-lived because on almost every ride we go on, I don't fit. I don't fit in any of the trial seats, but there are a few without trial seats that I'm forced to leave from the loading platform. We attempt maybe 10 rides and I am able to ride 2 of them. All of the employees are kind and no one is cruel to me, but I'm feeling worse and worse and just trying to hold back tears. The last one we tried was my ex's favorite ride and there was no trial seat. I don't fit. He freaks out. He angrily refuses to ride alone and afterward freaks out again, screaming at me in the middle of the park that we're breaking up as soon as we get home. The drive to the park was 4 hours, and we left after an hour and a half. I managed to calm him down and talk him into doing other things in the area for the day. We had already paid for a hotel for the night, but that was the beginning of the end for us. He never apologized for any of his behavior, or for not believing me in the first place. He even suggested going back for my birthday. Story 10. Chafing. It's particularly cruel because it makes you even more likely to avoid walking or exercise, thus ensuring you put on more weight. Body glide. I only wear dresses, partly because of my weight, and partly my personal preference. Body glide has made that possible without extra layers like shorts or tights. I can even go an entire day walking around a theme park with just a stick of Body Glide in my bag. Highly recommended to everyone, not just obese folk. My wife uses it in between her toes to avoid blisters. That's pretty normal for everyone who doesn't have a thigh gap. Moisture and sweat like to build up in the inner thighs, not helped by continual friction rubbing nasty crap together and messing with pores. Using baby powder or antibacterial soap generally stops most of that. Avoid Johnson & Johnson though, they've been caught more than once with asbestos contamination. I'm a UK size 8 to 10, American size 4 to 6, and I've always had chub rub. Even when I was unwell and underweight, I've never even had a thigh gap. I wish more people were educated that it's about the way your pelvis tilts. The only time I'll ever have a thigh gap is if I'm literally a skeleton. Story 11. How you become expected to be the garbage disposal. Oh hey, there's a leftover cake from coworker's birthday. We'll take it to fat coworker. They'll eat it. Or the last donut or whatever, and then they get all upset when we say no and are like, it'll go to waste because I'm already fat, so what does it matter, right? Or when you try to lose weight with a diet, people always try to tempt you off of it. Oh, one cake won't hurt. Or they'll get all offended when you just want to eat a salad in peace. It feels like no matter what you eat or don't as a fat person, someone is there to judge. You don't look fat. I'm fat. I know I'm not undesirable, but I look fat because I'm fat. You don't have to do that. My doctor disagrees, and honestly, it's none of your business. I know you're trying to support my self-image, but not obese, but overweight. I grew up with a farmer dad who'd freak out about any amount of food waste. We were a clean-the-plate household. Part of my adult weight loss is struggling to unlearn that, and teaching myself that it's okay to just throw it out sometimes. I had already known I was getting kinda big, but it really hit home that I was fat when I was at my cousin's house for a birthday party, and they offered me half a Tupperware of leftover homemade buttercream icing after they made too much for the cake. In their defense, they truly didn't mean anything by it. They just knew it was either in the trash or in someone's stomach, and they thought if someone would enjoy it, they might as well do so. And regardless of their intentions, it's hard to deny their assumptions, because I did indeed eat the entire thing. Not my proudest moment. It was people doing this to me when I began to understand my problem. Sure, a lot of it when I eat by myself was just ignoring portion control, when a high-calorie treat that should have been very rare ended up being several times a week. But when you grow up and work and live around food pushers, it's easy to stay accustomed to chronic overeating. The revelatory event was when I was at a friend's house with 2 other guys for pizza and euchre. I'd had a modest amount of za, and so had everyone else, but 2 pieces were left. The host offered them to guest number 1, who declined, then to me. I also declined, but instead of accepting and moving on, he asked, "Are you sure?" Yeah? Why don't you move along and give guest number 3 a chance to have at least 1 piece of what's left, and then put the rest in the fridge for tomorrow's lunch? I realize I can't blame someone else for my acquiescence, but when I'm trying to change my habits, I no longer expect to eat until I'm fuller than I need to be, to stop at the right time. I don't need that pressure. Even if I hear nobody's ever gotten fat eating vegetables, yep, even when you say early on you don't want something, it eventually gets tossed to you anyway. How dare you not want food? You're fat. You love food. For my birthday, I actively said I didn't want a cake. Going out to eat was a good enough treat. They came with a cake, and they all ate tiny pieces. I ate none. Then they shoved the rest of it at me, and when I said no, it became my fault for not wanting it. How every birthday needs a cake, and I should just accept it. What upset me the most was that my family member told me I should just take it because it would be rude not to. We could just throw it away after. Why should I have to take it? I said no. They brought it. It should be their problem. We know I'm fat. I have a problem. Why should I have to deal with that temptation when I actively try to avoid it? Story 12. The constant need to physically adjust yourself. I wear clothes that fit, but I'm still constantly adjusting my clothes, my body position, etc., just to be comfortable and for my clothes to have a chance of hiding some of what's going on in here. My thin friends almost never adjust their clothes and such. That's the main thing I noticed when I became thin, was that I could just get up and down from a chair and not have to spend 5 minutes adjusting my clothes. That I could cross my legs without having to hoist up my leg manually. I recently managed to lose the weight, and I'm still so hyper-aware of the way I take up space, constantly adjusting the way I sit, stand, exist, or messing with my clothes just in case anything has shifted or ridden up like a phantom feeling I just can't shake, and trying to explain it to anyone who hasn't been fat is wild. They look at me like I have a 3rd head, but you're not fat. No, I'm not now, but never mind. I weigh 195 pounds at 5'11", for reference. I have to adjust my clothes all the time depending on what I'm wearing. Jeans seem to be the worst offenders. Maybe your friends are just adjusting their clothes when you aren't looking. Or maybe we both need clothes that are tailored specifically for our bodies, lol. Anyway, I never attributed this to being my body's fault, and I'm not sure you should either. Story 13. Just how much internalized shame we carry. If you've seen someone who was really skinny struggle with shame, thinking that they're too fat and feeling guilty about how they look, that same shame lives inside so many of us, and a lot of us are honestly doing the best we can with subpar healthcare and normalized stigma. I have atypical anorexia with a binge subtype, and I feel this so hard. I feel ashamed for even thinking about food. I beat myself up for eating my maintenance calories or eating anything at all. It's miserable. I'm so sorry that you struggled with this, and I hope I didn't trigger it. It's just, I heard a woman who had what I considered a perfect body, who maintains excellent nutrition and physical fitness break down into absolute sobbing tears because she put on 15 pounds during a normal human experience. And I just stopped, and my eyes welled up, and I thought, OMG, if this beautiful, intelligent, nurturing woman is less than because of 15 pounds, do I have any worth? At 100 pounds over the guidelines? I corrected the thought because screw bodies, we're both gorgeous, but I realized, like, her internal struggle and my internal struggle are essentially the same. It doesn't matter how overweight you are here, or if the guidelines are reasonable or healthy. It's just that you are overweight and you should feel ashamed. I feel like this is the message from society. I'm not overweight, but I have been on a stricter exercise regime this past year to be healthy. Except it was secretly because of a bikini pic from last summer that made me feel very weird. The way it's screwed with my head is also weird in that I find myself comparing my body to nearly every woman I see. Anyway, I was scrolling through the Instagram pics of an old high school friend, negatively comparing myself to her in a really toxic way. Keep in mind, this woman has always had a super conventionally attractive body. I mean, a thigh gap and boobs kind of person. I was jealous of her in high school, and it was hard not to still be, until I noticed a photo that was clearly shopped to make her look even thinner. I started looking, and almost every photo had the telltale signs of editing to make her look more snatched. It really did a number on me to realize that this woman who I've always known to have a perfect body still felt the need to edit herself. Like, you will hit your goals, and it still won't ever be enough. Thank you for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you feel comfortable sharing with us, please leave it down in the comments below. And everyone else, please be respectful. You have no idea what someone else feels or what they're going through in their lives. Please be kind to each other. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again. Remember, you are all beautiful no matter what you look like. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.